I want to ask you, there are so many young women who read It Ends With Us, and there are so many young women here tonight. So what do you hope that these young women take away from this movie?
I hope they feel seen. I hope they feel loved. I hope they feel empathized with, and I hope they feel like there's always hope. There's always an opportunity, whether that's from yourself, from a best girlfriend, that you're not defined by anything any man has ever done to you or will ever do to you, that your identity is you and you define that.
The courtroom is thick with tension as the spotlight turns toward one of the most talked about legal battles in Hollywood, Blake Lively's courtroom drama. Behind the scenes, Team Blake Lively is scrambling, panic evident in their frantic document. Searches and whispered conversations. This frenzy signals one chilling truth.
Let me get this straight. Blake Lively and her publicists are out there slamming Justin Baldoni for creating an unsafe workplace. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's defunct lifestyle brand was so toxic and unprofessional, they had to cover up multiple potential lawsuits.
Blake Lively's camp is terrified of what might be revealed once this case goes to trial. The once untouchable star, known for her flawless public image, now faces the possibility of devastating exposure.
That's why we've been reporting on the Blake Lively Justin Baldoni case, because it's a lot more than just on-set drama. No, this is Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, her publicity team, the agents, all these people trying to just destroy the little guy, get their way, and I'm not having it on my watch, not one bit. This is a mind-blowing read coming in from Daily Mail. Shout out.
Rumors swirl throughout the courtroom that Baldoni, a central figure in the dispute, never turned the cameras off during filming. Every moment of Blake Lively's behavior, her actions, words, and reactions was captured on tape, unfiltered and raw.
Josh Boswell for getting some great scoops here. Speaking to previous employees of Blake Lively from her lifestyle brand Preserve, which she was doing as a Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, similar to what Meghan Markle's doing right now with As Ever. Now, before we get into this explosive expose, look how Deadline, which is the trades, out there.
Now, Baldoni is demanding that secret footage, insisting it will prove Blake Lively's carefully constructed story is full of lies. The courtroom holds its breath as this revelation sinks in. The judge's gaze sharpens. The jury leans forward, eager to see what this hidden evidence might uncover.
Covering for Blake. This is a disingenuous charade. Blake Lively mocks Justin's long-delayed HR probe of her harassment claims. This is like a completely written by Team Blake, her publicists, etc. Going in there. It's everything. They threw out the extortion things. Nobody threw it out. The letter may have been slightly improper, but it did what it was supposed to do, and the truth is going to come out. They can try to deny it and do whatever they want with these.
As the prosecution lays out its case, the courtroom transforms into a stage for emotional testimonies. Witness after witness shares stories that peel back layers of deception and pretense. The room feels almost suffocating with emotion as each testimony chips away at the carefully built facade surrounding Blake Lively.
These press tricks that they're trying to do. The reality is, clearly Taylor's team is fed up and they're doing everything they can to distract from it, including, look at this, a bold comment from Blake's lawyers about all of these. Does anyone believe that Wayfair is genuinely investigating a film set workplace that no longer exists? Wayfair is now suddenly interested in conducting a workplace investigation.
The sound of whispered gasps and the subtle tightening of jaws around the courtroom speak volumes. The harsh fluorescent lights cast long shadows, making every facial reaction, nervous tics, forced smiles, subtle smirks, impossible to miss.
Here's a reminder of some of the things Blake Lively raised years ago during the filming of the movie, all of which are alleged in the amend complaint. Now, here's the problem, Blake. You actually didn't file any complaints with HR. You didn't. You alluded to maybe a couple of these things and then later used these to take over the film. The truth is, if all this was so true, which many of it has been proven not to be true,
spotlight remains fixed on Blake Lively's name. Every time her name echoes in the courtroom, it carries the weight of fame, influence, and scandal. The repeated emphasis on Blake's actions, her behavior on set, her alleged lies, her attempts to suppress the footage builds an undeniable narrative. The contrast between her glamorous public persona.
Why did you finish the movie? Why would you let such a scumbag make such an important movie and then let him keep his name on it? You, Miss Feminist, out there trying to save the world, you let this guy do it? Like, and profit off of it? Why? So you could profit off it too, because you knew this movie had potential to be a hit. But then when all the press went sideways, oh, well, it was retaliation. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Persona and the tense, fraught moments captured by the secret cameras creates a haunting suspense. Viewers can almost see the cold glint in Blake's eyes in those hidden moments, the sharp tone in her voice, and the desperation lurking beneath the surface. Then comes the emotion.
No, it wasn't. You are proving why so many people don't like you. And that's not his fault. That's a you problem. So meanwhile, Deadline and the trades are out there just simping for Blake like crazy. Now, perhaps this is Team Justin tipping off the Daily Mail. It's so clear both sides are tipping off each other to stay relevant, and they're preparing their own sort of arrows to shoot out when they need to.
Climax. A witness breaks down on the stand, tears streaming, as they recount the impact Blake Lively's behavior had on those around her. The courtroom is silent but heavy with the weight of raw human emotion. The air feels
But I gotta say, Justin's side has way better arrows. They do. And this one's wild because as she's out there making all these complaints about what an unsafe workplace it ends with us was, which for the record, I've spoken to dozens of crew members, it wasn't. And stay tuned. We'll talk more about that in the documentary, which you guys can still promote over on our store. Become an investor today.
charged, every breath held in suspense. These emotional breakdowns humanize the legal battle and create a palpable connection with the viewers, drawing them deeper into the unfolding story. The sterile courtroom environment becomes charged with the electricity of truth, clashing with power and deception. The defense tries to discredit the secret footage and question Baldoni's motives, but the courtroom, energy remains electric. The jury
We are deep in production. We're still shooting some new upcoming interviews. It's still happening, but become an investor, click the pack, read the instructions, and you get your name in the movie and support what we're doing. So, and I'll also just future documentaries, please support. But let's get to the main story. I've delayed enough. This is the inside story, okay? Blake Lively's disastrous attempt to copy Gwyneth Paltrow. That's not the headline. She tried to cover up actual employment complaints.
watches closely as each new piece of evidence, each new testimony, threatens to unravel the carefully maintained image of Blake Lively. The atmosphere is tense, the stakes sky high. The question everyone silently asks is, will the truth, revealed by this secret footage, be enough to topple a Hollywood icon? As the day in court comes to a close, the drama is far from over. Every twist and turn, every tear.
Literally the same thing she's here on Deadline trying to do. And they really did an investigation. Let's throw it right back at you. Like, how did you do a proper HR investigation when apparently your brother was sleeping with the employees, doing substances, all terrible complaints that are happening in your horrible lifestyle brand that crashed and burned. And you had 3 employees filing legal complaints afterwards after they were all let go and fired for mistreatment. But what about that one?
Here in testimony leaves viewers on edge, hungry for what's next. Blake Lively's name is more than just a celebrity label now. It's a symbol of a battle between power, reputation, and the harsh light of truth. The courtroom drama promises to keep viewers glued to their screens, eager to uncover whether Blake's public image will survive or be forever changed by what lies hidden in that secret footage.
Did you do any proper investigations then, Blake? I'm curious. Because if we're going to hold people accountable, right? If we're going to be man enough, Ryan, if we're going to be man enough, can we call out Blake's brother? Or is that something else you tried desperately to cover up with your own publicity team? Let's go through it. As the boss of the company, 43-year-old Eric was running Preserve, which was Blake Lively's lifestyle brand, out of his apartment.
As the day in court was coming to an end, the tension was rising. Every testimony, every new piece of evidence was challenging Blake Lively's dazzling public image. The courtroom atmosphere had become more than just a legal battle. It had turned into a social drama where power, fame, and truth were fiercely clashing. The audience's
which was owned by Blake's brother, where he allegedly drank alcohol, smoked pot, frequently let staff out of the cold when he overslept and forced them to work sitting on the floor for months before buying furniture. 43-year-old Eric, who got married in 2005, even had an affair with one of the employees. 3 former staffers told the entire company was an absolute disaster. The workplace allegations that Blake is making now against Justin Baldoni are deeply ironic.
hearts were pounding, trying to grasp the gravity of each moment. The defense lawyers questioned the authenticity of the secret footage and made strong efforts to undermine its credibility. They raised doubts about Baldoni's intentions, claiming that the whole thing was a conspiracy aimed at defaming Blake. But as the debate continued, the tension in the courtroom only grew stronger. The jury silently took note of every point, their eyes fixed on the footage that had remained hidden until now. Meanwhile, in the world of media, Blake Lively's image was undergoing a complete transformation. Her fans were shocked and disappointed.
Given that it was one of the most insane, toxic, emotionally draining, and disorganized environments you could imagine. Oh, but he looked you in the eyes while you were breastfeeding. Why'd you let him in the trailer? My God, girl, you were doing power trips. Oh, but he looked at me in the eyes while I was getting body paint removed. He wasn't even looking at your body. Oh my God. These complaints make you look so ridiculous.
While critics were ready to seize the opportunity, hashtags and debates flooded social media, with everyone discussing whether this secret footage would permanently tarnish Blake's reputation. Outside the courtroom, Blake's team was under immense pressure. They knew that if the footage surfaced, it would not only affect the case, but also have deep repercussions on her entire career. For them, this was not just a legal fight, but a personal battle, where every lie exposed could be fatal. But the power of truth was no less.
But here she is, victim, feminist, icon, anti-racist, who got married on a plantation and gave money and then bought a Time Award. So here's this lovely, lively family, which I will say off the record, I've gotten tips about this family, and people despise them. Way before this, they label this family narcissistic, egomaniac, awful, celebrity, the worst of celebrity you can imagine. So here's Blake with her brother and her mother, her hero of a mom who...
The secret footage contained moments with the power to shatter Blake's carefully crafted image. Every time a new clip was played in court, it proved that the story Blake had told was a complete fabrication. Viewers' interest had peaked, and they were eager to know what the next day in court would bring. Would this secret footage topple Blake's reputation, or would she present evidence to restore her image? This story was not just about uncovering the truth about a famous Hollywood star, it had ignited a complex struggle between power, fame, and ethics. Every moment in the courtroom had become historic, one that no one could ignore.
Stood up and maybe stole that story. Anyway, the impression Blake left on me when I worked at Preserve is that she doesn't care. It really was a toxic work environment. Staff spoke anonymously, fearing backlash from Lively for calling out the shambolic and inappropriate work environment. Many were asked to sign NDAs about the dramatic implosion of the company. Interesting. Some were also said to have received settlements up to $300,000 after threatening legal action. Yeah, 3 of 8.
As the courtroom lights dimmed and the day drew to a close, an air of anticipation settled over everyone present. The secret footage had already begun to shift the tide, but what remained unseen was yet to unravel the full extent of the truth. Lawyers and spectators alike knew that the next day could be a turning point, not just for Blake Lively, but for Hollywood's very understanding of fame, accountability, and justice. That evening, behind closed doors, Blake's legal team gathered, in urgent consultation. The pressure was mounting, and whispers of possible settlement talks circulated.
And yet, not even a whisper leaked to the press, supposedly thanks to the work of Blake's fastidious publicist, Leslie Sloan. There she is, who is currently also embroiled with the legal battle. God, Leslie, you really getting paid enough to keep simping for Blake? Man, the skeletons you have in your closet for her. Leslie Sloan shut it down, a staffer claimed. They buried every single thing from that company. They have. It's hard to find. You got to go deep into the web to find the slave muffins that she made. This was so embarrassing.
Yet, Blake herself remained guarded and resolute, determined to face whatever came next. This was more than just a public relations nightmare. It was a reckoning that could redefine her legacy forever. Meanwhile, the media frenzy outside the courthouse reached a fever pitch. Paparazzi swarmed the building's entrance, hoping to catch a glimpse of Blake or any hint of what her next move would be. News outlets ran coverage, dissecting every angle of the case, speculating endlessly about the secret footage, and debating the implications for Hollywood's culture.
So she partnered up with this businessman to make Preserve, made stupid blog posts and this earthy recipes, artisanal apparel, with Polaroid promotional snaps of Blake. We believe that nurturing a better tomorrow upholds the yesterday we cherish. For all of us, About Us, on the About Us page. But staff claim that when Blake's brother became involved in leadership roles, things went downhill fast. Now, he was an actor in some little shows, etc. But
Picture of silence and complicity. Social media users became armchair detectives, poring over every leaked snippet and analyzing body language, tone, and context. The hashtag #DumbBlakeTruth trended worldwide as people demanded transparency and accountability from their idols. Supporters rallied on one side, believing in Blake's innocence or right to privacy, while critics grew louder, calling for justice and change. In the courtroom, the judge scheduled an extended hearing for the following day, signaling that the trial was far from over.
this goop, here is sort of a homepage of what Preserve looked like at the time. This brand under his leadership and Blake's guidance became a disaster. So after they moved to his apartment, he hired a bunch of 20-somethings with digital marketing, and it turned next year was a reign of chaos. Eric was completely unqualified. There were a lot of ways in which the employment was unprofessional. For many weeks or months, there were no desks. We had to sit on the floor. It was a big studio. There wasn't a delineation between living quarters.
The prosecution prepared to introduce additional witnesses who claimed to have seen behaviors contradicting Blake's public statements. Each testimony threatened to dismantle the carefully constructed narrative of perfection that Blake had maintained for years. As the night deepened, questions loomed large. Would Blake's defense be able to counter the mounting evidence? Could she withstand the growing pressure from all sides without cracking? And beyond the courtroom drama, what would this case mean for the broader conversations?
Working quarters, the bed was part of the same room. Does that sound appropriate, Blake? Does that sound like something that's appropriate? Interesting how you're so vocal about Justin and these so-called incidents, but you wouldn't call out your own brother, huh? You wouldn't actually do a proper investigation then. Interesting, huh? There was a whiteboard, but it wasn't furnished. I felt like he was being an actor, acting like the part of creative director of the company. One day, suddenly out of nowhere, you need to put together a strategy and present it tomorrow. Then we show up for work the next day and he's asleep.
Around power dynamics and celebrity culture in Hollywood, the story had transformed from a scandal into a pivotal moment, a test of truth versus image, and the outcome remained uncertain. One thing was clear: the world was watching, and the fallout of this trial would echo far beyond the courtroom walls.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? They were left out in the cold on mornings, waiting for him to let them into his apartment. People would be outside in the cold and he wouldn't let them in because he was still lying in bed smoking a bowl. He was taking lots of pills. He was openly smoking, drank. This sounds appropriate, Blake. This is your company. And you never took accountability. You just paid everybody off.